to have us go live.
Okay.
And let me slip back and start our recording. And we're good.
All right. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rebecca Sorensen, your chair of the Arts and Culture Commission. And before I call the meeting to order, I need to just share the following statement about our virtual meeting. Welcome to the April 22nd meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. This meeting is being held electronically to comply with the Governor's Stay Safe Minnesota order and to ensure the safety of all residents and staff. All members of the Arts and Culture Commission and staff are participating from their homes and offices. For members of the commission, please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking and raise your hand if you would like to speak. We ask that you do not use the chat function in WebEx as we meet unless you're having technology problems. We will have roll call votes for each motion this evening, as well as for adjournment. And I will ask Perry Vetter to call roll call after each motion. I will repeat the motion for the record before we vote, and will also repeat who made the motion and who seconded. We have a full agenda tonight, so please be mindful of those watching and tuning in and your fellow commissioners' time. Before we begin, there are a few things I'd like to cover for those listening in or watching online. The public has two ways to view the meeting tonight. They can watch the live stream on the city's YouTube channel or listen via phone using the WebEx call-in number. There is no community comment during the meeting tonight. The city is committed to hearing and receiving your input on matters. The public can send in comments to the City Council or the Arts and Culture Commission through the council correspondence web form on our website. The recording of the meeting will also be available to watch on the city's website tomorrow. Go to Watch a Meeting link under the I Want To tab on the homepage. Thanks in advance for your patience as we work to conduct this meeting online using different software types and people all participating from their own homes and offices. We hope there will be no issues, but be assured that we will do our best to continue the meeting as best we can if there are any glitches. Thank you to everyone tuning in tonight for your interest in the Arts and Culture Commission and for our work in the city. So the time is 4:32, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we have Perry Vetter, the Parks and Rec Director, please initiate the roll call?
Thank you. Commissioner Chandler.
Present, and I'd like to commend our chair on reading such a long statement so well.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
DiLorenzo. Commissioner Fromm.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Kankamala. Commissioner Piella. Commissioner Rubin.
Present.
Commissioner Shen.
Present.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Present.
Commissioner Stemler.
Present.
Commissioner Suko. And Commissioner Westland.
Present.
Roll has been taken.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Everyone should have received a meeting agenda on the city website, the email link that Susan Tarnowski sent to us. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
So moved. Russ Rubin.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rubin. And can I get that seconded, please?
Seconded from Commissioner Westland.
Thank you, Commissioner Westland. Seconded. The motion carries. So now we're on to item number 4.
Sorry, Chair, I'll take roll on that one.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I always forget that.
Commissioner Chandler.
Aye.
Commissioner Fram.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rubin.
Aye.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Stemler.
Aye.
And Commissioner Westland.
Aye.
Chair, motion carries.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item number 4. The March 25th meeting minutes were posted to the City of Edina website. I hope everyone has had a chance to read the minutes. Are there any questions or changes to the minutes after reviewing them? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the March 25th meeting?
So moved, Commissioner Chandler.
Thank you, Commissioner Chandler. And may I get a second?
Second, Commissioner Fran.
Thank you, Commissioner Fram. Seconded. The motion carries. Thank you so much. Now,
Call
oh, sorry,
roll
here we
on that.
go. Siri.
We expect it to. Commissioner Chandler,
Aye.
Commissioner Fram,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rubin,
Aye.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Stemler,
Aye.
Commissioner Westland.
Aye.
Motion carries, Chair.
Terrific. Thank you so much, everyone. Now we'd like to move on to our item number 5, which is special recognitions and presentations. This is where we'd officially like to welcome our newest commissioner to the Arts and Culture Commission, Commissioner Brian Stemler. Commissioner Stemler, we are honored to have you with us. What I'd like to do now is just have you introduce yourself, maybe share a little about your background and interests, and then we'll go around and have everybody here just introduce yourself, just saying your name, how long you've been on the commission, which initiative you're a part of. We'll discuss the initiatives later in the meeting, so we'll just briefly make introductions so we can move on to the business. But first, we'd really like to get to know you, Commissioner Stemler. So would you just tell us a little bit about how you found your way to the Art and Culture Commission and a little bit about your background so people know more about you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. You know, it's the events of this past year have, really motivated me to get involved in public service, and so it was a fantastic opportunity and perfect timing to find this opening and to apply. And things are happening very fast. We've only lived in Edina for 2 years now, going on 2 years, but my wife owns a Pilates studio in Edina, and which is just celebrated 10 years. So we've been, she's been involved in the community for a while, but now we're both residents and business owners in the city. And we're really motivated to put down roots and be here for the long term. So my investment wants to run in our investment into make deep roots here. And so I'm excited for this to be the first kind of foray into that. I have a bachelor's in theater from grew up in St. Louis and got my degree in Missouri and moved out to Los Angeles and pursued an acting career for about 5 years. Met my wife out there. She's from Minnesota, so that drew us back here. We've been here for about 12 years now, and are really happy to be here and be settled here. But she was a retired dancer, and I'm a retired actor now. I work as a commercial producer at KSTP, which I've been for 8 years now. And so I'm working behind the camera. Sometimes find myself back in front of, on stage or doing some acting from time to time, but I do prefer to be more in the background now. But we're very involved in the arts. My wife, before she retired, she was with Ballet of the Dolls dance company in town. So we have a lot of connections with the arts and performance community in the Twin Cities. And so I'm looking forward to being able to use my past experiences and our connections to help come up with new ways to do events and activities and things with the city of Edina.
Fantastic. You mentioned KSTP. Do you work with Megan Newquist, who's another Edina resident that I believe is one of the anchors?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah,
she's terrific and a big Edina champion. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a total pro.
Yep. She sure is. Well, thank you so much, Brian. What a great introduction. I think people have a sense of your background now and interests, and we're so honored that you joined this commission. And I know it was a very competitive process. They had a lot of applicants. A lot of people felt compelled to jump into public service this year. And we're so grateful to have you serve our city on the Arts and Culture Commission. So thank you again for your time and dedication to the city. At this point, I would love to just go around and have all the commissioners introduce themselves. Ideally, we would be doing this in person, but we are going to go around on our chat and just have, or on our virtual WebEx, and just have everybody say hello and tell Brian how long you've been on the commission and which initiative you're a part of. And then, like I said, when we get to the work plan, we'll talk a little more about each of our initiatives, Brian, so you can hear from everyone about what's happening, and then you can make a decision about which initiative you like to be a part of tonight. So let's start with maybe Vice Chair Rubin. Can we begin with you?
Sure thing. I'm Russ Rubin. I am retired, spent most of my career at General Mills. I've been on the commission for 5.5 years, I think it is now. I think I qualify for a pension, actually. And I'm working on Initiative 3 with the chair, and it's to find ways to make sure that art and culture are represented in whatever major construction or development activities are in the city, and see if we can develop best practices, how to make sure that they're not just buildings, but they're places where people want to be and participate.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next, can we hear from Commissioner Chandler?
Hi, Brian. Welcome to the commission. I'm Susan Chandler. If Russ says he's been on for 5.5 years, I've been on for 5.5 years. I was thinking it was more like 4, but time flies when you're having fun. My initiative is initiative number 4, which is working to help bring perspectives to the Edina Arts Center. In my real life, I'm the VP of Development at McPhail Center for Music, and I lived in St. Louis for 3 years when I worked for the St. Louis Symphony. So yay, St. Louis, nice place. Welcome.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Commissioner Chandler. Is Commissioner Kunkamala on our call? I don't see that she's on. What about Commissioner Shen?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Tiffany, and I'm one of the student commissioners here, and I'm working on kind of both Mosaic and the concert. And yeah, I've done a lot within art, so it's great to be here and have an impact on it. And yeah, welcome.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Commissioner Shen. And one of our new commissioners, Commissioner Fram.
Hi, welcome, Brian. I'm Alyssa Fram. This is my second meeting with the commission, so fairly new as well. I have been working in government, park and recreation for the past almost 15 years. I started the career out in Fishers, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis, working with the recreation program there, moved out to Green River, Wyoming, and I was out there for about 3 years working with their arts programming and a public art consignment program. So I've always been very active in the arts, was looking to move back to the Midwest because I grew up in Wisconsin, and accepted a position for the city of Plymouth. So I've been in Plymouth now for 10 years. I oversee the arts and music programming, and I'm taking on a new role as well as overseeing our senior services. So arts and music and the performing arts have always been a big part of my life. Excited to be a part of the commission. We moved here, my husband and my daughter and I, in December of 2020, so we're fairly new as well. But I've lived in South Minneapolis before that, and really excited to be a part of the city of Edina and helping to further the mission of arts and culture going forward.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Commissioner Fram. Next, we want our other new commissioner, Commissioner Westland.
Hi, Brian. Welcome to the commission. I've been on the commission for a month, so it's really exciting to be a part of this. My involvement in the arts usually takes the form of I work on several, I work with many museums in town on exhibition catalogs, and I also work with the University of Minnesota Press, especially on the art and architecture books. I also do a lot with public art. I work with Public Art St. Paul, and I do a lot with the Wiseman Art Museum at the University of Minnesota. I will be working on Initiative 4 on the Edina Arts Center, and I look forward to all of this.
Fantastic. I think we've met everyone that's here tonight. We're missing a few of our commissioners, Commissioner Sukow, Di Lorenzo, Kankumala, and Piella tonight. So I'm sorry, we'll introduce you all at the next meeting. I'm sorry, you're not going to get.
I'm sorry, Rebecca, did you get Susan Johnson?
Oh, Susan Johnson. Yes.
Hey.
Thank you. Is she available on?
Yes.
Mike, sorry. Thank you so much. Commissioner Johnson.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Well, welcome, Brian. Welcome to Edina, a 2-year resident, and also to our lovely commission. I'm a new commissioner. This is my second meeting too, so I'm on that learning curve, just like you, and real excited about it. I'm a 20+ year resident of Edina, Minnesota native, and I've done quite a bit of volunteering in the schools as my kids have grown up, helping out in the art department and in the music. So I'm on Initiative 3 with Commissioner Sorensen and Rubin, and we're just kind of looking to collaborate, art between public and commercial projects. So yeah, welcome.
Well done, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Susan Tarnowski, for reminding me that you're available over the chat. So sorry again about that. And I'm Commissioner Sorensen. I'm your chair. This is my first year on the Arts and Culture Commission. I've lived in Edina for about 16 years, following a career in New York City in arts PR. So I actually first met Commissioner Chandler when I moved here and was doing work for one of my clients, Jazz at Lincoln Center and the National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Masters Program. So that was when, Susan, you were involved with Arts Midwest. But I've worked on projects like the High Line in New York City and a lot of museum work. And that's when my public art interest really kicked in. And I moved here and I worked for Krista Tippett's show On Being on public radio, and have been involved with a live music and storytelling event that I curate in the Twin Cities in Morningside, actually, that's gone virtual for the pandemic, called Morningside After Dark. And we're coming up on next year will be our 10th anniversary of bringing live music and storytelling to audiences, hopefully in person next year. But it's a great honor to be your chair and to work with all of you new commissioners and our trustee commissioners who have seen this commission through different changes. And, it's just a terrific group here. So we're really excited, and we're so excited for our new commissioners. And welcome, Brian. We're thrilled to have you with us. So with that, I think what we'll do is now go on to agenda item number 6, which is we've got 2 things we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to go over our work plan updates, and we'll talk about those things in a way, let's hope, so Brian can get a little feel for what's happening. A little bit of context would be great for him. And then we'll then look at this duty document that Perry sent to all of us, and Perry will guide us through a discussion of that duty document. And, we don't probably have enough time tonight to really get into the brass tacks of it all, but we'll start to review that document as we prepare for our meeting next month, where we're really going to try to clarify our duties. So with that, I'd like to start with our 2021 work plan. You'll see that in your packets, there's a work plan which has all of us assigned to different things. I think there's one change to the work plan, which is that Vice Chair Rubin will be taken off of Initiative 2. So if we can just note that change. And with that, the one thing I would say, I wanted to go through all the initiatives, but I'm noticing Commissioner Shen is on here, but otherwise I don't know that we have our leads on Initiative 1. So I think what we can do is just talk a little, give a little oversight to Initiative 1 in their absence. And you know, Commissioner Shen, if you want to share anything from Mosaic as far as what might be happening behind the scenes. But this is an initiative that is the virtual gallery from struggling to healing. And I'm sure if you've had a chance, everyone, please take some time every now and then to go on the Better Together website on the City of Edina. It's one of the buttons you can press on the City of Edina website. The virtual gallery is located there. And there's some there are a couple of new updates to the virtual gallery, some artwork that's been uploaded. I know there's music. So it's interesting. It seems as though submissions are coming in. You can look at them there. I think that our leads are excited about a marketing plan that's underway. This was really an exciting initiative by the student group Mosaic at Edina High School. And this is sort of a group that is all about building inclusion in the school culture at Edina High School. And what they decided to do with the Arts and Culture Commission is come up with an effort to bring that sense of inclusion to our city. And so one of the ideas that I know our Commissioner Kankamala has been working on for a couple of years is this idea of bringing an event to life. And with the pandemic, it became this virtual gallery, a place where people can submit all kinds of public art. It can be painting, it can be music, it can be poetry, spoken word. So we're all charged with helping to grow this effort, bring it into the community. And one way that we're going to do that this summer, which I know Commissioner Shen is excited about, is we're going to enliven some of these virtual gallery performances at a 50th in France concert series that's in the works right now. It's going to kick up in June and go through September, 10 concerts in all. And before each concert, the curator has set aside time for a student performer or any performer that's involved with the virtual gallery to do a presentation about their public art, about their performance as it relates to the virtual gallery. And then we'll probably look at having a table at these events where we can share information about the virtual gallery to help, and just another way to inform the public about what we're doing with From Struggling to Healing. I think we're even going to try to have our student commissioners at each event where we have a virtual gallery performance give a short just introduction and explanation of what the virtual gallery is. Again, to just share the information about it to the public. And one of our commissioners is also looking at even having activities that could be something like if we see these concerts as being family events, so there could be chalk art, or there could be other ways to engage with the virtual gallery. So that is just a little recap. I know that we'll have a much bigger recap when we all meet again next month. But maybe we'll just stop with that for now and move on to Initiative 2 with Commissioner Cram.
Thank you, Chair Sorensen. So I have been connecting a little bit after our last meeting with MJ Lehman on City of Edina, planning to reach out to Heidi Lee, the Human Rights Commission liaison for the city, and connect with them in regards to looking at that artwork and decor rubric and how we can utilize that in the evaluation process of the virtual gallery piece. For me, the biggest thing, and as you noted, Chair Sorensen, hearing more about what our first initiative group is doing for promotional purposes and marketing outlets we're using to promote the virtual gallery. I did receive a little bit of follow-up on different options they were looking at for marketing. I'd just like to explore further, looking at, along with Commissioner Shen, groups with Mosaic that would also benefit potentially in promoting this gallery. If there's other student volunteer groups we could reach out to, or art educators within the school, counselors, to get the word out and promoting the gallery piece. And I think that would help as well with the evaluation process. So working on that. And that's where I'm at so far.
Terrific. And then one other thing, I know Commissioner Fram is preparing to guide us in some brainstorming sessions, because part of Initiative 2 is also informing the commission on a second possible public art event based on what we learned from Initiative 1's initial event, the first time trying this, evaluating, as you said, what's going to happen with this concert series, what's happening, how the virtual gallery is working out. So I'm really excited to see this report and also have you guide us as we start to brainstorm for our next initiative. So thank you again for your help. Next, we'll go on to Initiative 3. Maybe we'll start with Vice Chair Rubin, and then Commissioner Johnson and I could also chime in on it too.
Yeah. What we're planning on doing is talking to people who are familiar with how cities and communities work with partnerships, both private and public, to figure out the best way to, I would say, develop best practices for the city of Edina. We've had an initial conversation with one of the Edina directors, and now we're putting together a list of those in other communities who we can talk to figure out just kind of how it's done, and or even defining what the activity actually is. So we're just we're getting started, but it's interesting. I think there's a lot of interest in the part of all cities of finding ways to introduce public art into new developments and distribute it throughout all of the cities, not just in one or two specific places. So we're just getting started on it, though.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, do you want to add anything to that? I don't know if she can.
Oh, I think my mic is open, yeah?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. You know, just to say that I have done a little investigating on some other city websites. Bloomington, I have a commissioner contact for the city of Minneapolis, which is looking to do some things around the different parks. But that conversation is going to be ongoing, so I really don't have anything to report on that yet. But I'm optimistic that maybe we'll get some good ideas that we can present, and maybe have a place at the table to give our recommendations, or just, you know, advise them as to what other cities are doing.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm involved with this initiative too, and I would just like to add that you know, it's been exciting to collaborate with these commissioners and get ready to report to the city on our findings as we get started. And we are really, it does seem like we're really just at the beginning, but it is very clear that while many of our municipalities, neighboring municipalities, do not necessarily have a policy around public art and commercial development, they do have a point of view. And I think that's where we need to put some more attention and emphasis for Edina, because right now, again, if you go on that Better Together site, you can see all the different big commercial projects coming into our city. In many of the renderings, you see beautiful public art, sculptures that they put on the rendering to make it look more attractive. They know this is something that will appeal to Edina, the Edina community. Yet so often in the follow through, the budget runs out and it becomes low on the priority list, and suddenly that public art just doesn't happen. And I just was it was such a great call this week, thanks to Vice Chair Rubin. And I really do think that we need to bump up the city's priority on public art and its commercial projects as we look at projects that also involve TIF, but also just in general coming into the city. You know, I think it's really exciting to look at ways that other neighboring communities are handling this, and how Edina might get involved. To that point too, I've been sort of interested in how that process works when other cities do end up deciding that they want to make their sort of a point of view or even a policy, a few of them, for adding public art and decor elements to commercial projects, and what that process looks like. And the person we spoke to talked a little about forecast art as a consultant to some of these commercial projects, because what happens too is that a project will come in, they'll say, yes, we like the idea of public art, and then they just don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn or who to go to. So it'd be great to have a process so that these developers can go to whoever we decide might be the partner for Edina. Some cities have a public art consultant on retainer or available so that when something like this happens, there's a go-to person to contact. I know our city is very involved with diversity and inclusion in our public art. Robin Robinson is a consultant that has consulted with Forecast as well as her own firm, is very involved with, she did Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, which has been award-winning, and doing something now with George Floyd Square, and could be someone that we potentially look at interviewing. So again, we're starting to get somewhere with this in terms of putting a report together and our findings for the city council so that we can decide if they have an appetite to pursue something, again, a point of view or potentially a policy with a process when commercial projects come to the city. Because certainly these different projects are highlighting their interest in providing some sort of art component, but there's no real process or way that they can sort of access, there's no one really pushing that on them. So I think it's a good thing for us to really get into this and come up with some findings for the city. So again, I'm glad this is on our work plan. And with that, I guess we'll go on to Initiative 4 and Commissioner Chandler.
Well, does Commissioner Chandler want staff to give an update?
Oh yeah, let's have staff give an update.
That would probably benefit Commissioner Chandler. And I was so hoping Commissioner Suko would be on the call because we've got some good news, and I wanted to reiterate that we are not doing another study. We are doing a plan. I thought that was very important to point out. We've engaged, and I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I don't know if people could mute mics. I don't know if anybody else is getting that feedback, but we are engaging 2 professional services to assist in this. And the first is will probably play a secondary role to the process, but it's important to note that, and that is architectural services. And that will help us when we do look for space to move into, is what are our, and we've got a lot of this information from other studies, but to help us clearly identify not just our space needs, but also some of the infrastructure needs that we do not have at the current art center. So when we think about correct power supply, correct utility connections, correct infrastructure, ventilation, accessibility, all those items that we are missing at the center, to almost have a menu or a shopping list as we look at locations. So that's kind of the one professional service, but on a secondary approach to the process. I'm very excited. We got Sarah Peterson's proposal this afternoon, who is not a surprise, but I want the rest of the commission to know, talks very highly of Commissioner Chandler. So I don't know if her ears were ringing as we were discussing the process with Sarah Peterson, but spoke very highly of her. And what we're going to do that is Sarah Peterson is going to help us come to that needs and desires for programming component for, and I want to make this clear, as we're using pottery as a placeholder word right now. And it really is a reflection of 3-dimensional art: pottery, glass, ceramics, jewelry, all those 3-dimensional art pieces that need that grander infrastructure that we don't have. Sarah's going to help us work through that plan and approach, and what our initial goal right now is to bring in Commissioners Chandler, Suko, and Westland at the beginning of the process to help identify that before we even start, and then roll that out, is because their role eventually will be to help bring the community perspective to this process. So, but we want to bring them in early to set that scope and roll. So we'll probably execute that contract. I indicate, you know, the kind of the electronic ink is still wet here from today, but that'll kind of work through that initiative work group. We want to go out and get some additional perspective in the region about how, again, pottery as a placeholder word works from a participant, from a demand perspective, all those types of things, and then kind of bring that further to when we move into a space, what will we bring in it, dictating how much space we would need. So, so very excited on kind of making some progress there. So Commissioners Westland and Chandler expect we'll be reaching out to try to coordinate schedules with staff, try to get together with Sarah Peterson to kind of kick off that process here in the near term. We've got to go through and obviously accept and vet contracts or some paperwork process here, but hopefully we can get some things rolling for Initiative 4 to kind of keep follow through on the council retreat information about kind of taking this multi-step approach here.
Terrific. Commissioner Chandler, or Commissioner Westland like to give an update?
Oh, Carrie, thanks. Information. So it's wonderful to learn more.
I'm sure as soon as she meets you, she'll speak highly of you too, but she just knows Commissioner Chandler.
That is a terrific report. I'm really happy with that progress, and it feels substantive and forward-looking, and both of those things are terrific. I'll just add that Laura and Steve and I had the opportunity to kind of catch up together on the phone recently, and so we've, for better or for worse, brought Laura up to speed on some of the history of the activities that have gone on with the Edina Arts Center. And I don't think we could have projected such a great report at this meeting and the thought of so much, as I say, forward-looking activity. So thank you. This is exciting, and I look forward to providing perspective and working with everyone else as we can try to think about what's next here.
So Chair, I know we've gone through this. I think also additionally for staff's perspective, just two things to follow up on tonight is if commissioners kind of in their work group want to look at the progress text that staff kind of took a stab at and as a draft in your packet, if you'd like to send any updates to staff offline or post meeting, we can still put that in for progress for Q1 and kind of edit that down with any of the things that you've mentioned tonight. Again, we kind of wanted to just take a stab at putting something in as far as progress. So if there are edits you would like to make to that, please provide those to staff and we'll put that in. And then with the adjustment to commissioners for Initiative 2, we've taken Commissioner Rubin off that. And then we still want to look to the commission to and Commissioner Stemler to look at where he would like to follow up on a role as far as those work groups as well. So just a couple of action items we could still accomplish yet tonight.
That's terrific. Commissioner Stemler, do you have any questions for any of the initiative leads as you're getting introduced to the work plan? I know this is all exciting new information for you, but are you in any way ready to make a decision about which initiative you might want to be involved with? Or do you want to take some time to think about it?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously the Initiative 2 looks like it could use more people on it, so that seems like a natural fit. I think it's of interest to me because I think that the, you know, obviously trying to take art and make it more accessible through making it virtual is definitely something I think that's here to stay, and I think that's something that I'm interested in, and I have some awareness and experience with like the virtual world and how to kind of bridge those gaps between live and virtual. So I'm interested in that. I mean, quite honestly, I'm interested in all the initiatives. And so I guess my question is, even if we're associated or assigned to a certain initiative, is there an ability to kind of dabble in the other initiatives or, okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know Perry and Susan Tarnowski, feel free to jump in too, but I should have mentioned that at the beginning that that we can have up to 4 leads on every initiative. You can be a lead on initiative 2 and then be a helper on the other initiatives. I think it's a great idea to bring your energy to whichever initiative you're interested in. So, and listen in on and what's happening. And, so absolutely, there's opportunity to be involved in as many as you'd like.
And Chair,
Yeah.
you're correct. We can have up to 4 regular members per initiative in addition to the students. So technically you can have 4 regular commission members on each initiative and then 1 or 2 or 3 of the students as well. So it just can't have any more than 4 regular commissioners per.
I mean, in that sense too, I'm like you, Brian. I like to kind of dabble in as much as I can. Just it's great to, there's so many things that are exciting about all of these for everyone, and we'll bring our updates every month. And obviously, everyone's always open to give feedback and ideas as you're hearing about things.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of room for collaboration here as well.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, I mean, I am interested in initiative 2, certainly. So I think you could sign me up for that one. And, and I think I'm interested in being involved in initiative 4. One of the things when it talks about, finding some temporary, alternative workspaces that are decentralized. One of the other activities I've been involved in the past 5 years is working on a YouTube channel called How to Make Everything. And we basically, it's how to make, everyday items from scratch, like sourcing the materials from the natural world. But in that time, I've gotten to know a lot of the art centers around the city. And so I think that I have, ideas of other possible places that we might be able to collaborate with in doing some temporary partnerships. So that's something that I would be interested in helping with.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. Would you like to be a lead on initiative 4 then as well? Or would you like to be a lead on 2 and a helper on 4? I mean, just it's really, both ideas are great.
Yes, I'm happy to be a lead on both.
Okay. Terrific.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And great to hear your ideas and background. And we're so excited to have you involved. This is fabulous. Thank you so much. So at this point, I guess, Perry, will you guide us in, before we move on, does anyone else have any questions or anything else related to the work plan that they want to talk about right now? I guess one thing I'm always open to, and feel free to email me directly, but as I work as, I guess I'm essentially helping Initiative 1 with some of these warm-up acts for this concert series at 50th. If people also have ideas for performers, please feel free to reach out to me. I know the curator has lined up some amazing talent, and we'll be able to share that with everyone on the next call. I've talked to Perry about our involvement and the use of a logo in the marketing materials that'll go out. So Perry is working on that because we've sort of realized that we don't know that we have an official Arts and Culture Commission logo, but we have the City of Edina logo and then Arts and Culture Commission and all sorts of things Perry's investigating for us, as well as there is the virtual gallery sort of logo that we could potentially use too. So again, there's some branding opportunity and ways to help push our work on the commission and this virtual gallery into the community through a partnership with this series. Okay, so if there are no more questions about the work plan at this point, we have lots of time for review and consideration of the Arts and Culture Commission duties. So Perry, you want to take us through that?
I will. And Chair, at least, you know, if you, none of the commissions have a logo, but at least we know which green to use, right? And that's a inside joke on our branding plan from earlier. Yes, your duties as commissioners, we do not often put out 48-page packets, but hopefully you were selective before you hit the print key on your computers. So this kind of comes out of, obviously we have 4 commissioners that are brand new, and congratulations to Laura, Susan, and Alyssa for having moved up the seniority ladder now. You've got 1 month on Commissioner Stemler, but really it comes out of that and just kind of an overall desire for clarity of role as a commissioner. So we provided you quite a bit of background, and then I'll just quickly summarize it and then kind of get into the discussion items. Is obviously the City Council has the authority to establish boards and commissions, and they've done that for a variety of, call them interest topics, to assist the City Council in providing advisory and informative guidance back to the City Council. So all boards and commissions are basically that they are informative, they are created by the City Council, they've all been established by City Code, and they all have duties. And as you could tell from looking at the packet, the duties are wide-ranging from all of the other commissioners. Certain commissions have actual statutory authority. Those mainly rely under things like the Local Board of Appeal, which hears property tax appeals and can actually make decisions. There's the Planning Commission that can actually make decisions on land use. Some of their decisions can either be appealed to or actually eventually escalate to the City Council for another set of actions. But those are 2 that actually have kind of specific decision-making authority under state statute. We look at how commissions support the council. It's really in that advisory capacity. All of you have gone through a boards and commissions training of some sort. So you've kind of seen that diagram. Some of you have looked at it recently about how the City Council decides strategy. They are the ones that control budget. They work on policy. So commissions kind of have advisory. Staff kind of is in more of that management of operations, the technical aspect. And we also advise council as well on some things, but it kind of flows in that general direction that information flows up to the City Council to eventually make decisions. So they rely on you as commissions, and specifically here for the Arts and Culture Commission, to kind of have that establishment foundation and then a set of duties that are required of you. And I want to make just a distinction is those duties are different than the tasks that you have under your work plan. They are different than tasks that you have as part of, you know, a public art process. Is, you know, these are duties that are supposed to be time tested, right? They are the same duties you have every year. Maybe your work plan changes, in other words. Maybe there are certain decision points that come in front of you to make a motion, to provide feedback on a specific topic or a specific project. But the duties are set in City Code, and we don't know exactly what was changed in 2013. We could dig and find that out, but we do know that's the last time that the Arts and Cultures Commission's duties have been updated. So, you know, just shy of 10 years ago. We're not exactly sure of what that was changed. So, so I want to bring that to you tonight, is to kind of have that discussion around role clarity around those duties. And as you can see in there, we've got a little bit of the discussion, and we kind of wanted to talk right tonight about 3 of those kind of questions that we wanted to get from you. Is, you know, do you feel your current duties are clear to established commissioners, to new commissioners, or to even prospective commissioners that are looking to get on the commission? Do you feel there are duties listed here that are not the responsibility of the commission? And then do you feel there are duties that are missing from the responsibility of the commission? So I know we've got that in your packet tonight. I just want to call out again, because we've kind of footnoted it and I tried to make it noted everywhere, is that this is a very abbreviated portion of the city code. It would have been a lot bigger than 48 packets or 48 pages if we would have provided you the entire city code, and that wasn't necessary for our exercise tonight. Especially when we gave you the other boards and commissions, as you could look at, kind of a comparison, is those are also generally abbreviated. We took a lot of the section information out and just kind of whittled that down. I do know there's one item that maybe is going to catch your eye as an existing or a new member, and that is around the duties of having a working group on public art. And Susan's informed us that that was maybe a kind of a legacy way that public art had been done. And most recently, the commission had talked about, we're not going to do it in a working group, we're going to do it as a full commission. So I wouldn't worry too much about that tonight. Maybe affirm that that's how you want to do it. And again, I think the ultimate goal here is to then make an informative either discussion or presentation or request of this city council to say, this is our input on our duties, and we'd like you to either discuss or kind of inform them on how they could change that over the long term. Whatever that is, either right away, this year. Council may say, hey, we're really busy with land use right now, let's get to that in August, or we're going to get to that here. But I think you really want to get that in front of them in some fashion to say, we'd like you to make these changes, or have a discussion around those changes. I think the one thing we all want to avoid tonight is wordsmithing the duties. Let's keep it big to say, these make sense, this is missing, this doesn't seem to be our role, or we're not sure about what that role is. We don't have a lot of legacy commissioners. I think Commissioners Chandler and Rubin are kind of at that 5.5 year. We don't have an 8 or a 10-year commissioner here. Staff, we're not of long tenure either, so we're kind of all looking at this fresh tonight to really kind of get into that piece. So wanted to turn it back to the commission to kind of have that discussion around those questions and really go through about, like, where could we end up, where could we make these changes, if that helps you for this evening. And we don't have to accomplish that all. I know schedules are tight, we've got other things to do. We could carry this back forward to May. If you want to have discussion now, vet things out, we could bring it back in May. However you wanted to do it, we're very open to that, but we wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to discuss this as part of the commission work.
Perry, this is Russ. If I could just add one thing, that the commission came out of a board, if I'm not mistaken, for the Arts Center, and that was the genesis of the commission, and then it was changed from a board that just focused on the Arts Center to where we are today. So that might explain a little bit of the history, but I was not there at that time.
And I think historically there was also a separate public art committee.
Yeah,
that then eventually folded into the commission work as well. So
right.
There's kind of like maybe a bunch of things that kind of got brought together.
Right, exactly.
Thank you, Russ.
Perry, I think it's really helpful to see this, and it's also really helpful to see this commission's duties when you compare them to other commissions. And what I particularly look at are the verbs that are used for all of those different bulleted points there. So when you've got verbs like strive, encourage, facilitate, strengthen, recommend, I think that's really helpful to see that that's what we at the Arts and Culture Commission have. It's also what the other commissions have for the most part as their duties. I think it's helpful for one thing, because as commissioners, any of us come and go from this body, we should understand what our role is and what it is not. And, I think that there may have sometimes been confusion about, what our role is. Are we supposed to be getting out there and do? In many cases, we are recommending, we are strengthening, so I think it's helpful to understand what a body like this is required to do. Having said that, I don't want to get into wordsmithing, but I do have to say that as I look at the duties, I would simply suggest that we think about whether number 10 on that list is quite right, because it says continue to develop and implement public visual arts programs in the city. And when you read the comprehensive plan chapter that this commission developed, we were really careful to make sure we weren't only focusing on visual arts as we define public art, that it could be any kind of arts. It could be performing, it could be, various other sorts. So I would simply ask that we consider potentially revising that so we don't limit ourselves. And then, as you've said, and as has been talked about, the Public Art Committee is something that, or task force, used to exist. The commission felt like it was not as healthy of a way to be dealing with public art as to have it part of this full commission's duties. And I still believe that that is the best thing, to have it as part of our duties, not an offshoot supposed to be reporting to us. It gets cumbersome. So I do like having it incorporated into our activities. Thank you.
Oh, I don't know if, Russ, did you want to say something? I was going to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I look at it big picture, what's important for us to have as a city, as a community, it's a vibrant public arts program, which I think we are attacking and is pretty well defined in all of these activities. I do get confused as to the art center, what our role, and as a subset of that, the arts programming that comes out of the center, what role should we be playing in both of those? I do probably put more importance than others might on the art center, because I think it's iconic and it creates a central point for everything we do for art. But I understand it's also a limiting, because it tends to be the typical visual arts Susan was just mentioning. So it has the pluses and minuses. But so I would welcome clarification as to how we interact with the art center, or whatever it might be. Maybe it's not an art center. And then the role it plays vis-a-vis arts and culture in the community.
And
I don't know
Russ,
if that made any sense.
Russ, I would just say that I like that it doesn't mention the art center, because that feels limiting also. I think that, having these goals be broader, and that, sure, an art center could accomplish some of these things, but I don't like just putting that bucket out there as, okay, well, just that's the art center. I like having higher level scope.
No, I
here
get
that
it. I get
drives
it.
us.
I get it. And the verbiage does say venues and things like that. So that's encompassed in that. But I just go back to that, maybe we have to, maybe it's not included in there. I don't know. I'm just hung up on the need or the value of having an art center. And I was just, as a sidebar, I was pleased to hear what Perry is doing, because I think that is a commitment towards some form of an art center. Maybe not traditional, but it's something. And I think that's a good move.
And I think the activities are more important than the space in many ways, and so many of, I don't know, I feel like it's embedded in these things.
Okay.
And if I can interject, I'm curious to know if there's a historical precedence, or can be clarification in terms of that it seems like a big part of the role of the commission is to develop new ideas, develop new plans, and then to come up with kind of an action plan that can then be approved and put into action. In terms of handing off, like knowing when to hand off to someone else to kind of make it happen versus, you know, like are we more of a deliberative body, or do we also then act on the items that we have developed?
I mean, my reaction is no, we're deliberative more than operational. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly over the years as we've discussed all this, we're not a group of volunteers. We're a commission, and we're not here to run the activities necessarily. We can help, but that's not our purpose.
Well, and I think Commissioner Stemler, that's a really good point as a new commissioner, because I actually was confused about that when I started as well. And I'm more of like a doer and putting ideas into action. And so I was told kind of early on, that's not what actually happens on this commission. You're sort of stand back and create policy and tell others, you know, let other people come to you with ideas to do and that kind of thing. So, and that leads me to, you know, when I look at the list of duties, those are sort of more action items, more doer kind of tasks in some ways, not all of them, but some of them, like even going to city, you know, community functions representing the commission. And, you know, there's obviously, I think, I looked at this in contrast to the comprehensive plan goals. And I almost wondered if we're sort of, you know, obviously all of you that worked on the goals for the comprehensive plan spent a lot of time thinking about this new role for the commission. And, you know, I see that a lot of the work has already been done there. I mean, maybe, you know, when you look at the duties in contrast to the comprehensive plan goals, it was just really helpful to kind of compare and contrast and sort of think, you know, do we need to work with these duties that some of them do seem pretty obsolete now, just knowing a little bit more about the commission? And instead kind of jump to the goals as sort of, you know, more kind of what we're charged with doing. I don't know. Again, when I look at the duties, there have been things I've learned along the way that no, we're not getting involved with. You know, some of the, like, I don't know if it's, I'm trying to remember, facilitate communication and collaboration that promotes participation and enhances cultural life of residents. You know, some of these I feel like are kind of more what staff work on than things that we're working on. You know, grants, donations, sponsorships. I mean, you know, this is where I guess, are we sort of deciding these are things that we want to pursue and then talk to council about it? Or are we sort of, you know, I think there are things that it would be helpful to sort of get feedback from staff too, because I just think that there are things that we think, okay, we go forward and do these things, and then we're sort of told, no, that actually these are not things that we want you to do. We're going to do these as staff. So, you know, instead of kind of going through and kind of deciding, are there things that we want to highlight as very important to our commission, and then sort of, I don't know, I'm just wondering, like, feedback in terms of what staff, like taking care of the public art, for example, is not something that we're doing anymore. Or, you know, some of these duties have really changed since 2013 and what the commission is doing. So, and I'm just wondering, like, how do we kind of go through and decide, like, cross out, no, we're actually not doing this anymore. That's where I guess that's where I need clarity as well.
Chair Sorensen, maybe I could jump in, maybe at an appropriate time, and just maybe draw a couple of parallels to other commissions and other examples that we've done. We hope you keep in mind that you're advisory in this piece, right? So while you may like a policy, you may end up drafting a policy, the city council would adopt the policy. So you always got to remember your advisory in the process, right? Sometimes they may tell you, yes, go ahead and do that. And that go ahead and do that is why you have an annual work plan, right? So while there are things in here that should remain duties and advisory, there may be times through your work plan that you say, these are actual action items you could do, right? So as an example, is the virtual gallery, right? So that is kind of reflected in a number of these duties. However, that is an item that the commission is working on and the commission is doing. There are certain staff in the background clearly that are helping or connecting dots, et cetera. But largely that's the work of the commission. So there is kind of that doer aspect when it comes to your work plan. To go back to Commissioner Rubin's question on the Art Center, really the oversight of that is a staff function. Very similar to the Parks and Recreation Commission does not oversee the golf course or Centennial Lakes or Edinburgh Park. Again, a staff function, that's that operational technical expert piece. However, if there's a welcoming piece of saying, I was somewhere, I was at a conference, I was at a performance, and wow, was this popular, those recommendations back to staff are always welcome as well. But the commission wouldn't say, we would like you to program this in the facility. It would be more, again, advisory, right? Mayor Hovland is really good at this. He always comes back from a conference and says, I want to connect you up to the mayor of Arlington, Texas, because they are doing e-gaming and they are leading the country on it. And, you know, so he's always kind of that, you know, helping us grow and expand our boundaries and our visions to do that. But again, in that advisory capacity. So it isn't, you know, we had a 9-0 vote to say we should do e-gaming. It was, we're advising, hey, this is popular. I've seen this. Have you thought about it? Could we do it? So kind of, I don't know if that helps clarify again about kind of roles and duties is you kind of want those duties pieces, but remember you've got that annual work plan. And then we also included the comprehensive guide plan that you spent so much time on. So I hope that it's, but always keep in mind it's that advisory piece, right? You're always trying to do that improvement, recommendations, bring new ideas. The other piece of this too is, you know, you talked about the funding piece. I believe it was the Arts and Cultures Commission's idea to do a donation on a utility bill, right? So, so again, an opportunity like that to say, I've experienced this, I've thought of it, you know, bringing ideas forward. We kind of want to have that platform for that type of generation. I don't know if that helps or makes the conversation worse.
That does help. Thank you. The only thing I guess then is, yeah, just I'm terrible because I would want to wordsmith some of this. And, you know, obviously we have this new HRRC rubric that's not incorporated into some of this. And, you know, again, just looking at that advisory role versus our work plan, like, thank you for spelling that out. That's really helpful. And also just the cross commission initiatives. I think, you know, really highlighting that as a function of our commission is important. You know, I don't know if other commissioners had things that stood out that they were excited to see or questions about some of the duties that were on this list. We are trying to, Perry, did you wanted us to sort of also try to refine these a little bit, or, you know, use the word clarify, but it looks like, you know, the other commissions also have, in general, arts and culture commissions, I've noticed all over the place, do have very long lists like this. So we're not the only ones to sort of have a lot of duties like this and ideas. But I'm just looking at, is anything redundant or, you know, should be revised?
Well, I guess just to clarify, I think there is a time for wordsmithing. Just maybe not tonight, so we can kind of have this broader discussion on that. Right. And I don't know if 11 is, you know, the right number of duties or less or more. Going through these, I was kind of asking myself, if I was a new commissioner, an existing commissioner, a prospective commissioner, would I know what's expected of me under that? You know, things like facilitate communication and collaboration that promotes participation, enhances the cultural life of residents in the city. As a commissioner, would I know what that means, what I should be doing? And maybe that's, you know, something that pops up through a rubric, that pops up through your work plan, that pops up in sharing that contact or connecting groups. But when we kind of look at each of these 11, I just want to make sure that you're comfortable that there's kind of that mutual understanding that as a collective, we kind of know what that means. We know what that is requested of us. It may not be every year, it may not be every month, but when it comes up, I would know how to take action on that. I think number 9 is great, right? Represent the city at events. Perfect. I think you know what that means. But some of these other ones, I just want to make sure that if you're fine with them, that's great. If they need to be wordsmithed later, that's great. But I just want to make sure we're really kind of looking at this again to say we want to make some enhancements that would be for our betterment.
Harry, I had one question as I look at this. Even just understanding the expectations of like number 8, identifying potential sources of funding. I mean, is that as it comes up on projects we're working on? It's a little hard just being introduced to this document to know what's expected of us on an ongoing basis or as it relates to our specific assignments. And getting an understanding of the extent to what these are our duties is something that isn't entirely clear to me right now, but I hope it will.
I think staff can provide us perspective. I would also like to hear other commissioners how they feel about that one. I think from a staff perspective, I think a general awareness of external or best practices that you see. In your professional careers, you have exposure to opportunities that we may not know. In your private lives, whether it's travel or your self-interests, if you come across things, I think it's that sharing of information. As in, I was just in New York. While I was there, they were doing this, and I found out that for this project, they raised money doing this. Have we ever thought of it? Sharing that. I think also through work plans, and I think it might not have been very successful in the past because I don't think there was a clear mission on why, but I think several years ago, I believe the commission was asked to start looking at either raising money for a new art center, but there was no art center building being proposed. So there was kind of this, well, we'd like you to raise money or secure donations, but there wasn't really anything to secure them for. So I think that was kind of, again, a mission change that was a little bit off the radar as well. So I think it could be a variety of things. It's that awareness, it's that idea generation, like came through on the utility billing, and maybe down the road, we would like to actually raise money for something as well. So I think it could have a spectrum, and I think it's probably going to be situational, but at a minimum, I think from a staff perspective, awareness in your public and private endeavors would be a nice constant to be able to share resources. I think that's the piece of it, right? You're advisory to the council, but it's really great if you share information with staff as well.
I don't know if this is a question or a comment, so bear with me. Our structure, our reporting structure, if you will, is slightly different than some of the other commissions in that we historically, our liaison was the Art Center director, who then reported into Parks and Rec, and not directly into so our liaison wasn't at a certain level, and I think that has maybe sometimes discouraged us from some of that advisory capacity to council. And I don't know if that's right. Maybe it's just my own personal reaction, but it would be good if we had, if we had ideas like that, like some artsy thing, what's the process for us to bring that forward, and who's the right person to communicate with? That was a really lousy description of it, but I hope it made some sense. I don't know. Anybody help me to either agree, disagree, or clarify?
Yes. Commissioner Fram, just feedback. So what you're trying to say is with these duties, maybe elaborating a little bit more on who, like for 3, facilitate communication and collaboration, who are we connecting with? Liaisons
Right.
to the city and, okay.
Because Perry, your predecessor rarely interacted with us and only did when there was a change at the director of the Arts Center and and they needed to be there, but we didn't have the ear or probably the comfort level to bring it forward at a high enough level. And let's face it, so our liaison previously was the Arts Center director. So that was the focus of the person, and not the bigger picture, because their jobs are very large and complex to begin with.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that you're not advisory to staff, you're advisory to the city council.
Yeah.
Well, the secondary benefit is information sharing, project coordination, betterment, progress on your work plan or our work plan or feedback loops. In the end, you're advisory to the city council. You exist to provide information to them. So again, there are a couple of avenues I'll always go back to, and that's your work plan. There's your annual meeting, right, coming up in May to provide that feedback loop. In addition, is you can do advisory communiques to the council, and maybe we could, maybe we'll have MJ come to a meeting and talk about that process, right? Talk about how information should go up and down to the city council. That's changed over the last several years. The council's always wrestling with what's that best format, what's that best practice. So maybe we could have MJ come and talk about how do we get ideas from commission to the council. Again, I know Commissioner Sorensen's brought up about, developing and she got this from General Manager Tarnowski, is, all the other ideas for work plan, like to create a parking lot. And since it's Earth Day, I'll talk about our prior sustainability manager. I called it a bike rack, not a parking lot. So, but creating that parking lot. So, right now it's April, but you get to August and you say, okay, we want to chew on this one next. That's an advisory communique to the council to say, we request expansion to do X, Y, and Z. So maybe there's a clarity of process that we can bring to this to say, here's how the commission gets additional communication to the council. I don't know if that helps answer your question, but I think we always got a reminder, it's advisory, there's a work plan, and you have a comprehensive guide plan.
Yeah, a few years ago, we talked about writing a letter to council, and we kind of backed down from it. And because we weren't comfortable with that as a process. But it's good to hear what you have to say. Thanks.
I think the one thing too that I want to add is there was an attempt, and I don't know how many of these items that the Arts and Culture Commission had, but I know it was a sense of frustration for other commissions, and that was a inter-commission work plans where there was members from one commission, members for another that worked on joint items. And I think through that process, the city is really shying away from that, because I think that no one really knew who was lead, who was secondary. So while I think there's a desire for more maybe inter-commission collaboration, the joint commission initiatives just were not successful for a number of reasons. And I think that was actually pre-COVID. So having to do a Zoom meeting wasn't part of the problem. But I do know I've heard there's a desire for that. I don't know what the end solution is. But I know that was not successful from a lot of perspectives.
Okay, well, see, that's really helpful to know, because that to me would be something I'd want to bump up as something important to look at, how we could partner with another commission on, as we look at our work plan for 2022, like, is there a way that we decide to do something on climate change and public art with the Energy Commission? But, you know, again, and we're different than the other commissions in terms, we're more fluid, you know, with arts and culture. We should be kind of, I would feel like that's where we would be different than the other commissions, that collaborating seems to go more with arts and culture. But that would be helpful if, you know, it's something where, no, we'd actually be better just doing that on our own and sharing it with that other commission, but not planning it with them. But, you know, again, just if there's guidelines around something like that, I think that's so helpful, again, to just know from the get-go, yeah, you're better just doing that on your own and, you know, not cross collaborating or collaborating. So how would we get that kind of, if that has been updated, if that's a change, again, you know, is that something that we would just learn from talking to council when we have our meeting with them? Or, you know, if there's a shift in priorities there from just past experience, you know, how would we learn that? Because it certainly wouldn't be reflected in these duties from 2013, right? Because things have really, if things have been updated more recently.
I can speak a little bit to that, if that's just a little bit. I think that while the commissions were planning for their initiatives for the next year, the cross-commission work sort of hadn't been introduced into the planning. And so when the initial drafts came in, staff looked at ways to kind of combine great ideas. And when the plans came back, those sort of assignments had been made. So it may be that being intentional about an initiative or a project with an initiative is something we can do, but to actually line up commissions with shared initiatives for other purposes without having really been intentional about it was the problem. So I would think in the way the commission talks about what they want to do in 2022, if things naturally seem to fall together, conversations with the other liaisons and the other staff members I think that's a possibility.
I can give you a long example if you have time. Kind of what Susan indicated, I'll give you a little bit of an example. And I don't know if Commissioner Rubin remembers this, but I think it was, we were still in person, and I believe it was that October milestone when each chair comes together and proposes their work plan to the city council. And at that time, every other chair is sitting around the table, and this was back when we were sitting around a table. I think last year was virtual. But at that time, there were a number of commissions that said, we want to study the tree ordinance. It's only been enacted for just a couple of years. We think it could be better. We think it should be expanded. We think it should be changed. So it was a number of commissions that said, we want to study the tree ordinance. Well, really, that's a building code issue, right? So, well, there was like 4 or 5 commissions that wanted to study it. The decision was made is, for the first year, we're going to put that on a staff work plan. And we're going to have staff evaluate the tree ordinance. And then once that evaluation is done, then we're going to go to those energy, environment, planning, park, transportation, I think, and get feedback from the groups that wanted to study it in a specific manner. So there's a little bit more of a cohesive, so we don't end up with 5 versions of the tree ordinance that are coming up through the commissions, right? So it's going to take longer, but it's going to be more of a feedback loop. Another example is the Parks Commission and the HRC were charged with a cross-commission duties of trying to review how communities of color would better participate in our programming. And really, you know, for them to develop kind of that instrument or that feedback loop was kind of a challenge. Again, it was cross-commission. It didn't really work that well. that was changed then to where staff from Parks and Rec and staff from the liaison of the HRC are going to come up with something, and then both commissions will do a review and comment. So there's a little bit of an opportunity to say something's important to us. We think it's important to another commission, is to bring it up at that time. Is there mutual interest? And then maybe there's a different process than just cross commission work that it would go through. I don't know if that helps. I don't have a concrete example for tonight to say from the Arts and Culture Commission, but you know, maybe it's something after you do your study and report on the public-private art program, right? That gets the council's attention to say, okay, we want to take this to the next level in this fashion, therefore we're going to do this. I don't have a great example for that, but that's the one that pops into my mind.
Yeah, that's helpful. I was sort of thinking, like, for example, what if we were to look at the Parks and Rec Commission and propose doing some kind of public art in the park of some kind? Would that be that would be encouraged, wouldn't it, from the city's perspective? I mean, that's where, you know, it would be in our work plan, but we would partner with that commission, or I guess that would be with you, right? Parks and Rec staff then. So it wouldn't be the other commission, it would be staff. Okay. All right, thank you. I'm just kind of like.
Most likely, depending, like if it was part of a master plan, right? If you said, and I think that's where we have opportunity, right? If we were to do like another Arden Park or another golf course project, would we say during this work of a master planning that the Parks Commission reviews, do we want to infuse art, right? And I think that's kind of what we're talking about with the public art standpoint is, you had talked about not just being visual, right? But there is a huge visual component is, do we want to look at the park system as a canvas and how do we add art to it? I think that's a discussion we need to make.
I just want to jump in just for a little historical view, because Rebecca, at one point, this commission was really interested, and all of the commissions were very interested in cross-commission work. When we were all brought together, and Russ, you may remember this, for development, some work sessions on the development of the comprehensive plan, commissioners from all different commissions came together and were learning about how a comprehensive plan works. And we were learning from the consultants working on it, et cetera, et cetera. And as people from different commissions were talking about what they did on their commission, everybody got excited and said, you know what? I would love to collaborate with you. And everybody felt just like you said, Rebecca, that, you know, I'm on the energy and what is it, the energy and environment? No, it's energy and commission. Or I'm on the transportation commission, and what we do on our commission could connect with every other commission. Just as we've said that, everybody else said that too. So a lot of people feel that positive thought about working together on various projects and seeing the benefit of that collaboration. What Perry said, though, is that when we had this as part of our work plan, even when it wasn't COVID, it became cumbersome to bring these subgroups together in a kind of, I don't want to say it, but it was kind of a forced manner. It was thrust upon these commissions to say, okay, you are going to collaborate with this group. I can imagine that as we proceed, there may be some organic kinds of collaborations that bubble up, and that through staff, we can figure out ways to collaborate, and it could be a lot more effective than commissioners trying to set up cross-commission meetings, which was really cumbersome. But everybody has that impulse, and everybody has that sense that we can work together in better ways, whether it's Park and Rec or energy and environment or transportation or all of these, HRRC. We all see ways that we can overlap and build things stronger together.
We did have a period where we all agreed one of us was going to go to each other commission's meetings just once a year to talk about the work we were doing, so that they were informed, so that they could internalize it a little bit into the work that they were doing. I still think that's a pretty good idea. Just so I wouldn't call it working together, but I would just say communicating in a general terms. And maybe there's something that we could include either in our work plans or in these set of activities, this what we're discussing, to institutionalize that or make it more obvious. Because work is better the more if you can pollinate each other's work. But everybody's right. I mean, we were working with the HRC on an initiative 2 years ago, and that was horrible. Couldn't schedule
One
meetings.
thing, just for new commissioners, Russ, what you're mentioning, I think we were pretty clear that we always have that opportunity to go and have community comment. Not now when we're in the virtual environment, but that was always a place we could have gone for community comment to any of these commissions. And I believe you did that, actually. I believe you did that once.
Yeah, and it's our own responsibility to just go and do that.
Well, this is so helpful. I don't know if, thank you, Ruben and Chandler, for that feedback, and Perry, it's great. It's always so helpful in clarifying our role, and I think that this was a really good exercise for all of us that are new, and we'll continue probably to have questions and want to refine and revisit this in the May meeting. But I'm wondering if we should just stop. It's now 6 o'clock. If we should kind of move on to our other items. I don't want to, I know everyone's it's a beautiful day out there. We should probably keep things moving. Unless, Perry, do we have anything else that we should be doing at this point on 6B?
Well, I'm just wondering where you want to go from here. And I guess one option is we could add this back, less pages to your May packet. Or if in the interim, and again, I want to say this specifically, not to send an email to everyone, but if you wanted to, over the next month until the next meeting, and I'll look at the calendar and say maybe get it to us by, so we can maybe congeal your thoughts together, is if you want to send staff an email about your thoughts on this, about wordsmithing or changing or what you like, what you don't like, we can maybe compile that then for your packet. To help maybe speed up the conversation. Again, don't send it to everyone, send it just to staff, we'll compile it. And then we'll have a discussion around it again at May, and just, it sounds as if you like what it is, right? Maybe it's down to wordsmithing then at that point. But just, to maybe, obviously if we're tight on time tonight, and then you can maybe reflect on the conversation we've had this evening, and things will come to you, so.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Terry, could I just confirm, when you say send to staff, does that mean send to you and Susan?
Sure. And if you want to fill up Tracy's inbox, you can send it to her too.
Okay.
Okay.
So how's that sound?
That sounds good. Okay. And as far as, yeah, that's a good idea to send to staff. And then again, my whole thing, and part of why I wanted to revisit the duties too, is just as sort of, we all go out there and think about our new work plan and what the work we're doing right now, is just to make sure, I guess I was hoping for like more boundaries from staff, maybe about like, now the commission is not doing XYZ things, like, so if we go down this list, if all these things still look good to staff and to council and just need to be wordsmithed and updated, then great. But are we, I don't know. I just wanted to make sure there's nothing on that list that you see is sort of irrelevant now, or has been taken off of, is no longer seen as something that the Arts and Culture Commission should be working on or involved, like thinking about.
Again, I would say, these are to be timeless duties. So versus specific action items, I think maybe for the next meeting, then staff can also provide some feedback on, maybe we'll gather your thoughts and then we'll put out something that's proposed for changes, and we can identify it came from a commissioner or it came from staff at that time.
I think that's a great idea to have the two voices.
Right. Again, we're You're advisory to the council, not advisory. Staff's
Right.
not, anyway.
Well, no, it's just based on conversations that I think some of us have had with staff where, oh, no, we don't want the commission working on this. And, you know, it's kind of like just knowing, okay, we can look at this list and, you know, and be excited about the things that we believe are important and that we recommend are important to council. But just as long as there's not something in there that, you know, we're not supposed to be involved with anymore.
We will do that, Chair. And I'm just looking at the calendar now, and is it possible to get feedback to staff by Monday, May 17th? That'll give
Yeah.
us a couple of days to digest, and then latter part of that week, we typically start assembling a packet for
Sure.
delivery on the 24th.
That
Yep.
sounds fair. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. And that's terrific because then we'll have time for our other commissioners to provide their thoughts too that weren't here today. So great. And thanks again for all the context in that. It was a big packet, but there was a lot of great context and information all together. So it's a great resource for all of us. So in terms of, okay, 7 chair and member comments, we can move on to that item. I just, at this point, if other members of the commission have other comments they want to make, anything else that we should be updated on, and then I can certainly, I have just a quick thing I can share. So I don't know if any of our commissioners have anything else they'd like to bring up at this point. One thing, Commissioner Cram was just involved in an exciting initiative in Plymouth. Maybe you could just briefly share with us about what you were doing.
Yes, thank you, Chair Sorensen. So I coordinate with Plymouth Arts Council a art exhibit called Primavera. It was the 24th year this year. Of course, we had a lot of challenges with COVID, so we decided to run the event both in person with limited registration as well as a virtual event. So looking at examples, Brian, since you're joining me on Initiative 2, this will be a great way to see a virtual gallery in place. Of course, the idea of it's a little bit different, but a really great example of bringing that online exhibit to the community so they could see the high school and adult students that participated. We had over 100 entries with both students and adults. So great one to check out.
Do you have the link for that?
I'd just like to add, I'm a Plymouth resident and Alyssa did a beautiful job with this. It's a really nice show.
Thank you, Susan. Yes,
Yeah.
and if anyone wants to check it out, it's www.plymouthmn.gov/primavera. That should bring you to the site.
Wow, that's terrific. And how many years has that been going on?
24 years. So
Wow.
it's been a process to get to that point, of course, but it's a great way for us, you know, as a commission looking at that virtual gallery piece and what we could do with that and promoting.
That's terrific. So helpful. Thank you for sharing. Is there anything else anyone wants to share, things that you're involved with in the community or that might be of interest to our commissioners tonight? Okay. I know we've had a lot to talk about and review. And I would just say that, let's see, next Friday, I'm taking a call again with Robin Robinson, who is an art consultant involved with Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport Public Art and the social justice mural at Phillips Park that is actually a part of her work funded by a developer actually that she's doing at a park. And she has worked with a number of cities on public art and commercial development. And it's exciting to hear about a project that became a social justice mural. And so in any event, if anyone is interested in joining me on that call, just email me. I'm going to set that up for next Friday. And any commissioners interested in hearing more about that work, please let me know. I'd enjoy having you on the call with me. And at this point, I guess.
Chair Sorensen, just to be clear, we could not have more than 4 on that call. Just
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay.
Just,
Good.
I knew you were going to say that next, so I
Yes,
just wanted to
yes,
get that out.
that was just on the tip of my tongue. Only 4 can be on the go. Thank you for the reminder. Terrific. And so with that, I guess we'll go on, Perry and Susan, for staff comments.
Yeah,
I
I'll just give a few quick, and then I know we had asked Susan maybe just give you a brief update on the fall into the arts planning. But just so then a reminder of takeaways for tonight. If you have any edits and wordsmithing to the Q1 progress updates, please get those to staff, and we can update that. Most likely we will include that in the joint work session packet. So, and then the other one is feedback on the duties, et cetera, by May 17th. And I'll just call attention to the last page of your packet, upcoming meetings and events. So the next time you are together is going to be May 18th. That's going to be a WebEx invite. Most likely it'll come from administrative staff, but we'll make sure you know that that invitation is coming your way, and that's for the joint commission work session with the city council, a 5:30 start. I don't know if Commissioner Sorensen or Chair Sorensen and Chair Idas have flipped coins yet or played rock, scissors, paper to see who's going to go first, but one of you is going to go first, and then the other one will follow. So it's the same night Parks Commission and Arts and Culture Commission. So while it's a 5:30 start, you could be on at 6 or you could be on at 5:30, but we'll let you know. And then your next regular meeting then is going to be Thursday, May 27th. And then just so you also know, the revised dates for November and December are now published in your packet. So because it's a 1-month notice, those revised dates will count towards attendance because they've been published in advance. So just want to draw that attention to you. And I don't know if Susan has anything else to add.
Yeah, just a couple of things. You asked about the Fall into the Arts Festival. We have 2 scenarios that we're planning for. One that's a more restrictive festival, depending on what the governor's guidance is by that stage and just where COVID is. And that would be a smaller fair with fewer artists, fewer food vendors. And we have a little bit more expansive scenario and budget that would allow for, I believe, 157 booths in total, and about 135 of those as artists. This would certainly be possible only if 6 feet of social distancing wasn't expected. So we could put tents side by side and we could have people coming through. We have determined, however, that it will just be on the lower level of Centennial Lakes Park this year. So down and past Hughes Pavilion, which is so beautiful. It's just a beautiful place to have an art fair, but we will not be moving it into the parking lot owned by Cushman Wakefield at the top. So that is on September 11th and 12th. And we will have food vendors and Wooden Hill beer, thanks to Edina Liquor for securing that for us, and hopefully beautiful weather. So I'm excited, and I hope we have the ability to really get out and let people see artists and artists have their work out for purchase. So I'll take any questions on that if you would like. The only other thing I'll mention is our author studio has gone virtual rather than in person. Our kickoff video done by the communication staff at the city is out, and it is a conversation between me and Barbara Laveler. I believe I mentioned that before. We have now also done an interview with a wonderful author named Zaylor Stout, who wrote a book called Our Gay Life in These 50 States. And it's really designed as a text to help younger people have conversations about gender identity, racial identity. And it is a beautiful book, and it's been adopted by the state of Illinois as part of their curriculum for this aspect of student learning. So it's in production right now by the communication staff, and I think you will enjoy meeting him and seeing the work that he has done as part of his personal and civic responsibilities in this area. So those are my 2 things. Oh, I should say too, we are going to have a mystery author in May, Christine Husum, and then in June, we are trying to collaborate with Edina Reads. We just have not gotten that worked out yet for another virtual presentation of young people doing spoken word, and hopefully some interviews with them as well. So some nice programming coming up. I'm sorry, Rebecca, you were saying?
I was just going to say, where can we find that information on, is that in the Better Together section of the website, or where do we go to find all the dates and information?
It is a YouTube video, so you can go to Edina YouTube. It is also scheduled on Southwest TV at certain times, and I don't have that at the top of my head, but I could sure send that out too.
Okay, great, thank you. So your events and information don't live on a website right now? It's all just case by case, or?
Since it was a YouTube video, we thought that was the best thing, was to put it on the city's website, but we're working on getting it on the Artsiders webpage and doing some advertisements on Instagram for that as well.
Okay, great. And then a question, do you have any idea if the art fair is still happening? Is it, I know there was.
Art fair?
Yes, and you have an
I
update.
do not, I am meeting with the gentleman who is part of the group that has been contracted to work with 50th in France next week. I think there are questions about it, and I'm sure that he and I will have a conversation. And my question for him will be, how far was the planning? How far along was planning by the time that the staff members were no longer working on it? And so we will see what their decision is. I just don't know how far they've gone. I think I'm getting calls on almost an every other day basis from artists asking that question. So it will be nice for me to be able to give answers to. But as soon as I know, we can share that.
Okay, terrific, thank you. And then with the Fall into the Arts Festival, is it possible for us to explore the idea further of Initiative 1 potentially having a table to represent the virtual gallery with the vendors? I mean, if we can sort of.
The festival committee has invited that, and I would be more than happy to talk a little bit more as we go along what the format of that might be.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much.
I will also say one more thing. We are doing some outreach. We tried to look at vendors that were more diverse. So we've added some Indian food with Money Tiger. We've added Tibetan momos. So we're looking at things that are a little bit more broad. And we've started doing some outreach to be more inclusive of artists. We have a nice response from the Hmong community, and we're continuing to do that. One of our festival members and the chair of the Edina Crime Prevention Fund, PACey, has actually served as a gold sponsor, and she is contributing more money to support entry fees for diverse artists into the fair as well. So some real nice additions this year.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Terrific. Yeah.
I just want to draw in, maybe Susan could help correct if I say anything wrong, but just for our newest members, I just want to draw the distinction is that the Fall into the Arts Festival is operated by the Edina Crime Prevention Fund, and also as a combination of Susan and her staff and her work and the Centennial Lakes Park staff. So that's more of a city function for the Fall into the Arts Festival. The Edina Art Fair at 50th in France is not technically a city function. It's typically operated by the 50th in France Business Association, which, as you know, with COVID issues has been funding. So they no longer have staff that's working on this through the association. They've hired I believe, a contracted staff to execute that. So I just want to draw the distinction between the Edina Art Fair at 50th in France is not a technical city function, but the fall one at Centennial Lakes Park is.
But I will say that mistake is evident in the number of phone calls I get during the week asking about this. So easy confusion.
Yeah. And I appreciate getting an update, because I know just as arts and culture commissioners, people probably assume that that's something we would know about. And so it's great to get the update just for our awareness. So if there are no other staff comments, I don't know, Perry, do you have anything else for us at this point? Then I guess we'll go on to adjourning our meeting. So
Chair, we just need a motion and then I'll call roll for that.
yes, so I want to thank everyone again for your hard work. Welcome again to Commissioner Kemmler on your first call. And again, all of our new commissioners, you're just jumping right in and we really appreciate it. And I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting today, April 22nd at 6:19 p.m. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
Rubin.
Commissioner Rubin. And a second.
Second.
Commissioner Chandler, thank you so much. Thank you again, everyone. The motion carries.
No, we have to vote.
I'll call roll.
We have to vote. I keep forgetting that we have to vote. Sorry.
And just a reminder, when we get back in person, we'll voice vote and we can just do unanimous. It'll go so much easier. But so we have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Rubin, seconded by Commissioner Chandler. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Chandler.
Aye.
Commissioner Fram.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson. Oh, Commissioner Johnson's there.
I think you are. Susan, are you there? You know, I do not see her icons anymore.
Okay, she's still on my screen, so I know she's present. But Commissioner Rubin.
Aye.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Stemler.
Aye.
Commissioner Westland.
Aye.
The motion carries and you are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Bye,
much,
everybody.
everyone. Have a good night. Thank you for your help. See you next month.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Can you hear me?
Good
Aye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nice job. Thank you, Susan.